My name's Ethan Morales, and I live just outside the city of Brookdale in a quiet neighborhood surrounded by woods. I drive the same road every single day. It's a long stretch of highway that winds through forest and farmland before spitting out into the suburbs. At night, the road is peaceful. No rush hour traffic, no honking, no chaos. Just darkness, my music, and the quiet hum of my car. Honestly, I liked that drive. It gave me time to unwind before I got home. But one night, my drive turned into a nightmare. I had just left work late and was heading home, maybe 20 minutes away from my house. I just entered that wooded stretch of highway, the part with no street lights, when I noticed headlights in the distance. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just another car coming my way. But as it drew closer, something felt off. The light was blinding, much brighter than any car I'd ever seen. I had to stare at the shoulder just to stay in my lane. And then I saw it. The car wasn't in its lane. It was in mine, coming straight at me. I barely had time to react. My reflexes took over. I swerved hard to the right, crashing down into a ditch so fast my body slammed against the seat belt. The sound of metal crunching filled my ears. When the car came to a stop, the front end was wrecked, mangled beyond repair. It looked like I should have died inside that car. But somehow I wasn't badly hurt, shaken, sore, but alive. I unbuckled, climbed out of the ditch, and looked back toward the road. I expected to see the other driver speeding away, vanishing into the night. But they didn't. The car had pulled over just up the road. Its headlights still shone, blinding the ditch where I stood. My anger started boiling. They had almost killed me, and now they were just sitting there. I grabbed my phone and called the police. My voice shook as I explained what happened, and the dispatcher told me officers would be there in 5 minutes. That gave me some relief. I figured I could wait it out and maybe yell at this guy once the cops got there. But then he appeared. A man walked up to the edge of the ditch. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't apologize. He didn't say a word. He just stood there, staring down at me. "Are you the one who made me crash?" I shouted, trying to hold back my rage. Nothing. Before I could process his silence, the headlights grew even brighter. Another car, the same car, or maybe the same model, rolled slowly up behind him. The driver's door swung open, and another man stepped out. The two of them spoke to each other in a harsh, guttural language I didn't understand. It wasn't English. It wasn't Spanish. It sounded like Russian, maybe German. The words came out sharp and aggressive, echoing through the woods. Then one of them opened the trunk, and instead of grabbing anything, both men turned their eyes on me. They came running. I didn't wait to see what they wanted. I spun around and sprinted into the woods, dodging trees, branches whipping my face. I could hear them crashing after me, their heavy boots thundering against the ground. Luckily, they weren't fast. They were larger, older, and their weight slowed them down. After a few minutes of sprinting blindly through the trees, I realized I'd lost them. But now I was alone in the middle of the woods. No light, no bearings, just silence. Then, faintly, I heard sirens. I stumbled toward the sound until I saw flashing red and blue lights through the trees. I broke out of the woods, gasping, just as officers were inspecting my wrecked car. The men. Gone. No trace. The police wrote up a report, but told me without plate numbers or names. There wasn't much they could do. I knew exactly what they had wanted. They weren't trying to apologize for the crash. They were trying to put me in that trunk. My name's Pamela Reyes. I'm not a good long-distance driver. In fact, I avoid it whenever I can. But my job forced me into it one time, and I still regret making that drive. I live in the tiny desert town of Mesa Creek, Nevada. My company had a main office in San Francisco, and since I'd been working remote, they wanted me to make the 10-hour drive to meet the team. I started my drive in the evening, planning to arrive at a hotel near the city the next day. The road was long, barren, and endless. For hours there was nothing but dirt, sand, and cactus. About 3 hours in, I checked my gas gauge. I'd been zoning out, letting the miles slip past, and didn't realize how low my tank had gotten. It was almost empty. Panic started bubbling in my chest. I hadn't seen a gas station in ages. Every mile I drove, I expected the car to die. And just as I thought I was about to be stranded in the middle of the desert, I saw headlights on the side of the road. Relief washed over me. It looked like a police cruiser. I pulled over behind it, hoping they'd have a gas can. The car had a spotlight and a light bar on the roof, but something about it looked off. When I got closer, I realized why. It wasn't an active police car. It was one of those old cruisers that get auctioned off after they're retired. The paint was stripped, but the body still screamed cop car. Still, someone had to be inside. I walked up, but the front seats were empty. Not abandoned, though. The interior was clean. A grocery bag with snacks sat on the passenger side. That's when I felt it, a prickle down my neck, the sense of being watched. I glanced toward the desert and my blood ran cold. A man was standing out there, far from the road, half hidden in the darkness. He wasn't moving at first, just standing, watching. Then he started sprinting toward me. I bolted back to my car, fumbling with the handle, yanking it open. By the time I slid into the driver's seat, he was already at the road. My headlights caught his face. He was filthy, hair unkempt, beard thick and matted, dirt covering his skin like he'd been crawling through the sand. His eyes locked onto mine. He didn't move. He just stood there, waiting. I was too scared to start the car, afraid it would sputter and die right there. So I sat, gripping the wheel, praying he wouldn't come closer. I tried calling 911, but my phone kept struggling for service. Finally, the call connected, and just as it did, the man climbed into the old cruiser. He sat there for a moment, still staring at me, then turned the engine on. But instead of pulling away with his headlights on, he drove into the desert road without turning them on at all. Gone. Vanished. When an actual officer arrived half an hour later with a gas can, I told him everything. He brushed it off, joked that the man was probably burying something out there. But I know better. That man wasn't just passing through. He was waiting. My name is Bradley Carter. A few years ago, I worked nights at a 24-hour bar and pizza spot in the town of Havenbrook. The place was known for two things: cheap drinks and greasy pizza. For some reason, the owners decided we should offer delivery, even though we hardly got orders late at night. Since I was the youngest, I was the one stuck driving pies out at 2 or 3 in the morning. That night, the bar was packed, but a delivery order finally came in. Just one pizza, 15 minutes away. I was glad for the break. The address took me to a road I'd never been down before. When the GPS said I'd arrived, I pulled over, but there were no houses, just the entrance to a forest preserve. Confused, I called the number on the order. A man answered instantly. His voice was low, rough. When I told him I was at the preserve, he said, "Look to your left." I turned. At first I saw nothing but trees. Then, deep in the shadows, a man stepped forward, waving his arms. He wanted me to bring it to him. Something about it didn't sit right. Why couldn't he just walk to the road? But against my better judgment, I got out, holding the pizza box. The silence hit me immediately. No cars, no crickets, no wind. Just me and him. He didn't move toward me. He just waited, staring. When I stopped halfway across the grass, I waved him over. "You can come grab it, man." Instead of walking up, he glanced over my shoulder, then to the side, scanning for witnesses. My stomach dropped. Something was wrong. Before I could react, he rushed forward, grabbing my arm and yanking me toward the trees. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't trying to draw attention. He was focused on dragging me into that forest. I struggled, punching wildly, landing blows against his face. He let go, staggering back. But before I could bolt, two more men emerged from the tree line. They had been waiting, hidden, ready to cut me off. Adrenaline surged. I sprinted back to my car, slamming the door, starting the engine. The three men stood in the road, staring, before finally disappearing into the trees. At the police station, I handed over the number from the order. It was disconnected within hours. The name used was fake. If I'd walked another 10 feet into those woods, I don't think I'd be here to tell this story.